Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our Friday webinar. We are so excited to have you all. I'm going to give you some time to get in. I know you've been waiting with anticipation to talk about a topic that is so relevant for the new year, for 2022, for gearing up for travel. So I'm really thrilled to be introducing this session. If you don't know me, my name is Beth Santos, and I'm founder and CEO of Wanderful. And I want to give you a couple of slides to show you what we're all about because so that's a little picture of me right there. So, but if you aren't familiar with Wanderful and what we do, I did just want to give you a big welcome. I know a lot of you are members who are coming on in. And by the way, come on and say hi in the comments. You are all should be watching from YouTube. You will, piece of housekeeping, be able to access this link at any time that you want to come back to get a recording of this. So that YouTube link that you're looking at right now, you can use that. Also, on your screen, there is a comment pane, and your comments are going to come in live, and we'll be able to see them. So go ahead and say hello, drop in who you are, where you're coming in from. We'd love to welcome you and have you all come in here, and also have you meet each other. I know you're not seeing each other's faces and you're not able to talk to each other, but there's no reason why you can't share your stories with each other and give feedback and participate and be part of this. So come on and join. If you're part of the Wanderful community, give us a shout. If you're not, let me tell you about what we are. Wanderful is an international collective of travelers and travel content creators, and we're on a mission to make travel better for all women. And that means a couple things. It means supporting women who are looking to get out there and looking for that support network and want to help each other. So we have this dynamic membership community with chapters all around the world and this whole online network where you can get tips and advice. But then we also support women business owners who are growing in this space. We do a lot to help travel content creators, small business owners, travel advisors. And then we also push the industry to be better, to be more representative, to be more inclusive, to be more responsible, because women are impacted at every level of travel. It's not just women who are traveling. It's also women who are working in the hospitality industry. It's also women who are affected because they're part of a local community that we're visiting. And all of this creates an ecosystem that we really want to just amplify and support and grow. And I'm seeing some really good comments coming in too. So, hey, MD from Edinburgh, Lauren's here from Cincinnati. Keep those comments coming in. It's great seeing you all. And I'm excited to hear your stories as we go. Now, if you're not a member, I just want to give you some info. We do have this incredible membership community with an app, chapter events worldwide, content like this one. This one's totally public and free. But then, fun fact, we do this almost every day in our member portal. We have all sorts of workshops and private coaching and small group activities. We have a global home sharing network where you can actually stay with women all around the world. And coming soon, we actually are about to publish a whole bunch of travel guides so you can get the wonderful take on what to do around the world. So check that out. If you're not a member yet, there's a free trial for anyone who wants to join. sheswanderful.com/join and get in on that trial. Take a look around. Come say hi to me. Come meet. I think we have over 3,500 women that are in the portal now, so ready to help you and be there. And while you're doing that, I just want to give you a quick heads up of what's happening these next couple of weeks. We have our first major outdoor travel festival by and for women. I'm so excited. It's called Wanderfest. It's happening in downtown New Orleans on March 12th and 13th. Oh, everybody's coming in now. Katarina's in Toronto, Melody's in New Jersey, Karen's in Calgary, Rachel's in Austin. Thanks for being here. Pam is from Oklahoma. Keep going and dropping those notes. And if you haven't been to New Orleans, this is the time you need to go. If you have been to New Orleans, this is the time for you to come back. We're going to have speakers, music, a parade down the French Quarter, all happening in like less than 2 months, which is pretty wild. And then later in May, we'll be going to Kansas City for WITS Kansas City, which is all about bringing marketers, media, content creators together with brands to really build our influence in the travel space. We'll have the 2022 Bessie Awards, which honor women in travel. And then we'll head over to Europe to do a similar round of WITs over in Gdańsk, Poland in October. So those are some of our big upcoming global gatherings. They are in person. We are taking big COVID precautions with a lot of these. Wanderfest is fully outside. WITS is going to have some vaccination requirements that you can learn about on our website. So keep up with those and stay with us. And then finally, I want to give you some housekeeping on how to actually be part of this webinar today, because you all are part of this. You're part of this conversation, even though I know you're kind of passively watching and you're like, going to learn a lot. Share your thoughts too. I know that Jonelle's going to want to hear what your advice is, what your thoughts are. And if you have questions, drop them in. If we have time at the end, I'm going to come on back, ask some questions, help get everything answered for you. And this is a public link. So if you know somebody who could really benefit from this information later, feel free to share it with them. Say, I attended this really awesome webinar and there's some good stuff in here and I want to pass it along to you. It's all about, travel is all about getting those tips and giving them and passing them forward and helping each other out. So definitely do that. And I see Deidre's coming in from Maryland. We've got Pam in Boulder, Carol's in Tucson. We have Catalina in Medellin. We have Michelle in San Diego. So I love it. Oh, and so excited for Gdańsk in October. I know, I cannot wait. Whenever somebody gets excited about one of our events, I just get so pumped. Sonia's in Honolulu. I just love how global we can be and how many time zones we're hitting right now. So welcome, everybody. It's so great to have you here. And I am even more excited to introduce to you the next part of this, which is the person you've all been waiting for, because I know it hasn't been me. And that is our speaker, Jonelle Rocke. I'm going to give her a little bit of a shout out and tell a little bit of her story before I bring her on, because she is amazingly accomplished. She's a generational wealth strategist, traveler, speaker, and entrepreneur. In 2019, she launched Generation Wealth, a financial empowerment company inspired by her work in schools and as an educator over the past 15 years, as well as her struggle and eventual victory over the financial challenges she experienced in her teens and her early 20s. She's journeyed from being in debt over $1 million to, get this, total debt freedom. In 2013, she also started a successful education company. She's committed to living her life by design. She lives life on purpose by helping others realize the joy of financial independence while traveling the world. And she's going to take that purpose and bring it to us today and help us all to learn some of these amazing tips that she's built along the way. So I'm going to bring her in here, and I cannot wait to learn alongside you all. So Jonelle, come on in. How are you?
Hi, I am well. I am so excited for today, Beth. Thank you so much for hosting me on this amazing platform.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. And I'm just going to be a shout away if you need anything. I know I'm just going to let you take the stage. When you want your presentation, I can help you manage that so you don't have to do any of the tech stuff, and just let me know what you need. But otherwise, I will leave you to it.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, I am so excited to be with all of you this afternoon and having the opportunity to share with you some tips and some tricks on how you can travel the world and get this, you can do it debt free. If there's anyone who knows the challenge and the burden of living through a period of having insurmountable debt, and getting to the place where now I am able to travel around the world and live the life that I want to live by design, while also being a good steward over my finances. Okay. So I don't take trips that I can't afford, but I never say that I can't afford a trip. So with that, I'm going to jump in. Beth, you can go ahead and cue the presentation. So first thing I'd like to kind of talk about is who exactly is this class for? So are you the person who lives your life vicariously through the social media pics of your friends who seem to be on vacation every month? It seems like the world that we live in right now, it's so public, and we're social, and we are sharing what's happening in our lives with pictures on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and videos and reels. Is just like always there. And maybe you are seeing your friends and maybe members of your family, and they're traveling to all these really cool places. You're like, gosh, I really want to do that. But you might not see the place in your finances right now where you can make that happen, right? Maybe you're that person where your mind is saying, go on that trip. You know you want to do it, but your bank account is saying, I highly suggest it be a trip to work. Why? Because you need to make that money to pay those bills. So self-talk is really important. We're going to talk a bit about how the way that you think about what you want to do, how it affects what actually happens. And then we're going to talk about investing, right? So, one thing is working for money, but you also need to have a system in place where your money's working for you when you're not working. So your money should always be working harder for you than you're working for it. Maybe just the term investing is just like, oh my gosh, this is just so intimidating. I don't even want to, I know that it could be beneficial, but I don't really know anything about it. And so you're fearful. The idea of even investing, or, the stock market or real estate, or so many different ways to invest your money, but just that whole idea of investing intimidates you, and you don't even know where to get started. So I'm going to give you a starting point today of something really easy that you can do to start investing your money and saving for your next trip. So there are 3 limiting beliefs that we're going to confront today. Number 1, a dream vacation is exactly what it sounds like, a dream. It will never happen. Limiting belief number 2, I need a lot of money to take multiple vacations every year. And limiting belief number 3, investing for travel requires a background in finance. I'm afraid that if I try, I'll lose my money. So let's start with limiting belief number 1. A dream vacation is exactly what it sounds like, a dream. It'll never happen. Okay, the danger of believing this is that you will never take action. And whatever you believe is what you're actually going to manifest. Okay, so you want to have this experience, you need to stop saying those things to yourself. Okay, your desire to travel will remain a dream if you continue to perpetuate that negative self-talk. So what you need to do is you need to start actually creating pathways in your brain that gives you the opportunity to create and see the possibilities. So I'm a little bit of a nerd. I study the way the brain works. And it's really interesting. If you say that you can't do something, you actually stop the brain from what it's designed to do, which is create ideas, come up with new ideas, new thoughts. And when you start saying, I can't do this and I can't do that, you cut off those creative pathways. And so what you need to do, even if you don't see a way or you don't have a particular plan, you have to say to yourself that you can take that dream vacation, that you can do that thing that you want, even if you may not have a plan yet, because it actually allows your brain to start to produce ideas and puts it in that creative space. And we're designed to create, right? To create new things, new ideas, to build. And so how do we now take this limiting belief of, oh, I don't think I'll ever be able to take a dream vacation, and actually train our brain to start thinking that we can, and come up with a solution to actually put this plan in place? So what you got to do, solution to this is 1, tell yourself that you can. And the solution is really to decide that you're going to go. All right. And then you're going to create or find a plan to get there. So one of the things that I do is every year I plan the vacations that I'm going to take for the year. So it's so funny because I might plan like 5 or 6 trips, and I might end up taking like 7 or 8. They kind of sneak their way in there somehow. But I always find a way to finance my trips in a way where I'm not compromising my long-term financial goals or going into debt. But I have a plan. So I know that I just came back from Mexico. I planned that trip actually towards the last quarter of 2021. And on Sunday, I'm headed to Costa Rica. And I've already created a plan of how I'm financing that. So when you make a decision, you cut off all other options. All right. So you are like, I'm going and I'm going to figure out a way how to get there. Now, there are two ways that you can do this when you decide that you're going to, whatever your dream vacation is. Let's say that you have a dream to go to the Maldives. So you can create a plan or you can find a plan. So, what does that mean? So, creating a plan requires that you write down the details of all the things that you want to experience on your trip. In other words, you get to dream and you put that dream on paper and it becomes a plan. Okay. So, here are some questions that you should think about when creating your plan. Now, are you going to be going alone? Are you going to be a solo traveler, which is an amazing experience? And also, you can perhaps decide if you want to go with a companion or a group. Each one offers an amazing experience, but they're all very different. How are you going to get there? Now, if you're going across waters, of course, you're going to fly. If you're deciding that your dream vacation and you live in the United States and you've always wanted to go to the Rocky Mountains, are you going to take the train there? Are you going to drive? Is it going to be a road trip? Where are you going to stay? What kind of accommodations do you want? Do you want to stay in a hotel? Would you like to stay in an Airbnb? Hi, yo, from North Carolina, and oh my gosh, you have someone from Algeria. It's fantastic. Hello, Hamza. What kind of food experiences do you want to have? Now, I'm a bit of a foodie, right? So I actually really love to experience a place through the different flavors of food. I'll be the person where I'll go on a walking food tour, find out about like spices that I might taste in the food that I've never tasted before, and then go to like a local food market and buy that spice so that when I come home, I can make something and experience. It'll take me right back to that place just from the taste of the food. What do you want to do when you get there? Like, what kind of activities? Are you into adventure? Do you want to go zip lining, ATV, or do you just want to lay back on the beach and read a book? And you want to make sure that the people that you travel actually complement the things that you like to do. Because if you just want to lay down on the beach and read a book, and then the person that you're traveling with, they want to go on an adventure every day, that might not be a good travel companion. So what I'll say, who will you travel with? That's the number one question you want to ask, because it's very important who you go with, because that can make or break your trip. Now, that's a whole other class, but I'm sure any one of you who've ever taken a trip with a group, if you've had a good experience, it enhances it and makes it wonderful. And then if you go with somebody who maybe doesn't have the same idea of a great vacation, it could really break it, right? So that's really important. And then what kind of tourist attractions are you going to visit? Are you going to go to hot spots like local stuff, or do you want to go to, like really famous landmarks? So when you're creating your plan, those are some of the things you want to ask. The other option is that you can find a plan. So you can find an itinerary from a travel company that's hosting a trip to your dream location. All right. So I'm actually going to show you two examples of trips that I've taken where one I created and one where I actually found a plan and I just went. So this past summer, I created a trip for myself and 9 of my friends. And we went to Nairobi, Kenya, and Zanzibar, Tanzania. And this was a 12-day trip. We spent 6 days in Nairobi, 6 days in Zanzibar, and it was a phenomenal experience. Now, I decided that I wanted to do this trip because I actually turned 40 last year, and my birthday was in January. Actually, my birthday is in a few days. But because it was still cold and we were still kind of dealing with a lot of, pandemic fears, I decided to create my 40 and a half birthday trip. So in July, we actually went to East Africa. And it took me a little while to plan this trip because there were so many things that we wanted to experience. And so I knew that I wanted to go with my closest friends. And so it was 9 of my girlfriends, and my cousin was also one of the young ladies on the trip. And we had opportunities to spend time with the locals. We went to visit Maasai village. We had opportunities to feed giraffes. We went on a safari. in Zanzibar, we were able to, go and spend a day in the middle of the Indian Ocean on a sandbar. Like, we just had so many peak life experiences. And I was very clear about the things that I wanted to do on this trip. And I didn't see a plan that was giving the experience that I envisioned. And so I created it. And some of the resources I used to create my trip, I watched YouTube videos. I actually joined Facebook groups to get some ideas from individuals who have gone to these places before. I actually found our tour guide in a Facebook group, and he ended up being phenomenal. And I also spoke to friends who had been to this place before and was able to give me some suggestions about what to do. So this is a trip that I created myself. Now, I didn't even start thinking about the money yet. This is what I want to do. Now, when I was saying, this is probably like 2 or 3 years ago, this was a very special trip because I took my niece for her 16th birthday to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And she didn't want a birthday party. She wanted to travel like her auntie. And so I took her on this trip, and this was a trip that was pre-planned. And it was an amazing experience, but it was a different experience, right? Because it was with my 16-year-old niece. And this was a 5-day experience. It was a 5-star experience, from the hotels that we stayed at to the excursions that we went on in Abu Dhabi. We went to the Ferrari amusement park. Like, we did so many amazing things. But this was a trip that was pre-planned. And so we were with a group of about 30 other individuals, and it was a lot of fun, right? We were able to meet new people. We were able to learn about the cultures of the individuals who were on the trip with us, as well as the culture of the natives of those who live in Dubai. So this was an experience that was just as wonderful, but it was different because it was already created for us. Now, I want to kind of segue into limiting belief number 2, because in limiting belief number 1, you're like, okay, we've already taken care of that. You're like, I want to go on this dream vacation, and I'm either going to create a plan of what I'm going to do, or I'm going to find a plan. The next thing you need to think about is like, okay, I have a plan. I have an idea. I see it in my head. I am there mentally. Now you're looking at, how am I going to pay for this? And limiting belief number 2, I need a lot of money to take the vacation of my dreams. And that is not true. And the danger of believing this myth is that you perpetuate a lack mindset, and then you allow money to be the barrier that blocks you from living the life of your dreams. So if you don't bust this myth, you're not going to be intentional about creating money in your budget to finance your dream vacation. All right. So you need to, again, this then comes back to the way you're thinking, right? So you say, okay, I don't need a lot of money to take the vacation of my dreams. I just need to figure out how to create that space in my budget in order to make it happen. That's what we're going to do. So the solution is to create a budget and get to work. Now, a budget gives every penny an assignment. So every penny that you make, a budget is just a plan of how you're going to spend your money. So you need to be intentional in putting aside a specific amount of money every month, especially for travel. If you want to take that vacation, if you want to go on, if you want to go from 1 trip a year to 3 trips a year, whatever your vacation plans are, you just want to take that big dream vacation, then you have to be intentional about putting money aside towards it. Okay. So you're like, wait, Jonelle, what if I don't have money left over to put aside for travel? So we're going to take a look at that. You're going to look at your budget, and you're going to determine where you can save money on current expenses, or how you can generate more income to finance your travel savings plan. So what does that look like? So here, I want to show you this example where you can find, quote unquote, find money to travel the world. So we have 3 different types of expenses. You have fixed expenses, variable expenses, and controlled expenses. Now, fixed expenses are financial obligations that are essential to your lifestyle. So that's your rent, your mortgage, transportation. These are costs that are non-negotiable. You pay them every single month, every single amount. Certain insurances, you just have to pay them. Variable expenses are financial obligations that could be a necessity or non-essential to your lifestyle. So utilities, subscription services, these costs can fluctuate based on the usage or could be negotiated to lower payments. And then you have controlled expenses. These are financial obligations that could be a necessity or non-essential for your lifestyle. So food, clothes, hair, nail care, entertainment. You have full control over how much or how little you spend on these expenses. Now, when thinking about finding money in your budget, what I would say is the first place you want to look is your controlled expenses. All right. These are obligations that you don't necessarily need. Some of them you need, some of them you don't. So, food. Okay. Now, food, sure, we need food to eat. But what kind of food are you eating? Are you having, gourmet food every single day? Or are you eating out every single day? These are ways you can actually modify how much money you're spending on something like food based on what you're eating. So for me, I don't eat out very often. I cook. I actually enjoy cooking, right? I told you I like buy spices from different countries and I always experiment with different kinds of food. So I cook because it's cheaper and I am able to save money that way. So I'm not going out to eat. So if maybe you don't know how to cook, right? And you might need to eat out, or you may need to buy food from outside. Think about ways in which you can minimize doing it instead of 5 days a week, maybe 3 days a week, 2 days a week. Are there some ways and you can prep some easy meals that don't require a lot of cooking, like salads, ways that you can even eat healthier that can tend to be cheaper in the long run. So your controlled expenses, think about, do you pay to get, ladies, do you pay to do your nails, and you pay to get your toes done, and yeah, that's nice, but do you need to pay $100 every time you go get your nails done, right? That's a place where you can actually save money. So these controlled expenses, these are things that you have that help make your lifestyle better. Like I said, some of them are essential. Food is an example, but do you need to spend as much as you're currently spending on those controlled expenses? Your second look would be your variable expenses. Variable expenses are like subscriptions, your utilities, and though you need these expenses, they can fluctuate from month to month depending on how much electricity you use, or and these days your phone bill is pretty much the same every month. But the interesting thing about your variable expenses is that you can negotiate lower rates. So I called my utility company the other day because I noticed that my bill went up like $30, like out of the blue. So I called. I wanted to find out what happened, and I said, I'd like to negotiate a rate closer to what I was paying 3 months ago. And I said, I've been with you all for over 15 years. I've never had a late payment. You've never had to, put my account into collections. And I would hate to take my service elsewhere. And they said, well, ma'am, let me see what we can do for you. And so, they took a little time. They came back, it's like, man, we have great news for you. Not only were we able to lower your payment, we were actually able to negotiate it to a rate lower than what you were paying 3 months ago. Now, they're not going to call me and say, hey, we realize you're paying $30 more and we have a rate that's lower for you. They're not going to call you and tell you that. No, I had to call and I had to ask. And then they were able to give me something better than what I was asking for. So what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is they say no, right? But it doesn't hurt to ask. And so I've done that many times, negotiate lower rates on my utilities. When it comes to subscriptions, really think about, do you need a Netflix subscription, Hulu, Disney, HBO, Cinema? Do you really need all those subscriptions, right? And I always think about what it adds up to on an annual basis. Okay, maybe it's $20 a month, but $20 a month times 12, that's $240 a year. So if you think about that, $240, that can help pay for a flight in some cases to certain places in the world, right? So do you really need to have that many subscriptions? If you have subscriptions, are there subscriptions that you're paying where you don't even use the services anymore? You just like forgot about it. Go to your bill, your credit card bill, your bank account, your bill, and not bill, but the statement, and see what's coming out of your accounts every month. What are you being charged for and you're not even using anymore? And you'll be able to see like, oh my gosh, I've been spending $200-$300 a year or more on things that I don't even really need. And that's money that you can then put towards your next trip. Okay. Now, when it comes to the budget, there is only so much you can cut back. Okay. So you don't want to cut back to the place where you're living, a life day to day. Like, oh my gosh, this is, I'm not really happy, but I'm really trying to save for my next trip. I don't want you to get to that place. Okay. I think life is for living, and we need to enjoy and live our best life every day. But we also want to be good stewards, good managers of the monies that we have in our hand. And so now I just showed you ways in which you might have been spending more money on things that you didn't need to spend money on. But there are some cases where you might need to generate more money. Now, notice I use the term generate and not work for, because you don't have to necessarily work actively to make more money. You can actually tap into some ways in which you can generate income in a passive way. And so these are some examples of some things that you can consider in terms of generating more income. So you can participate in the shared economy, right? So there are tons of ways in which you can collect passive income by participating in shared economies. An example of a shared economy is Airbnb, right? And so if you have an extra room, or if you have another property and you're able to generate passive income by renting that out or allowing people to stay there short term, that's an example. But there are that's probably one of the most popular examples, but there's a ton of other examples. So parking spots, that you can actually generate income by, if you have extra parking spot, and you can actually rent that out to individuals. Storage space, car rental is a great company, Toro, where you can actually rent your car out, just like Hertz or Enterprise or any of these other companies, and you will actually be able to get income from just renting out your car. Put your gifts to work. Maybe you are really good at making things by hand, jewelry. You like bedazzle sneakers. I mean, you see all kinds of things on this website, Etsy, where you can actually make things by hand, customize different outfits. So there's so many different ideas out there. But if you are really handy, you can actually make those things, and you can sell them on a platform like Etsy, and you'll be able to make money from selling those things. Maybe you're not good with things made by hand, but you are great with ideas. And so you can create courses, and you can sell it on platforms like Teachable. If you have an idea for a great product that you can sell, I would say Amazon and eBay are also great ways to sell products. eBay, if you have used items in your home that are in pretty good shape, but you don't really need it anymore, listen, something that you don't need, they say one person's trash is another person's treasure. And Etsy, on eBay, you can actually sell a ton of used items that people are looking for that may be hard to get or they can't find. eBay is a great place for that. Now, if you have a car, you can use it to provide delivery services. Now, this is not necessarily passive income, right? So the parking spot, storage space, car rental, that's passive because you don't have to be there you don't have to be actively working to make that money. Etsy, Teachable, Amazon, eBay, in some ways that can be somewhat passive too, right? Because once if you're working with a product and you ship it out, that's as much work as you do, and then you're able to collect money on the platform, and you'll see your bank account grow like every day. For some time, I was actually I sold products on Amazon, and it was wonderful. So that's somewhat passive. When it comes to this particular example, if you have a car, you can use it to provide delivery service like Uber, DoorDash, Instacart. It's a quick way to make extra money. And here in New York, we actually have delivery people who come on their bikes. So even if they don't have a car, they actually bike to pick up the food and bike it to drop it off. And so that's a way to make extra money as well. But that is active income, which means you have to actually exchange your time for money. But these are some examples of ways that you can generate more money in order to travel the world. Now, here's some other tips I want to share in terms of savings for travel. So when you plan your trip, can definitely affect the price. So if you plan your trip, so that trip to Nairobi and Zanzibar, we actually planned that trip 120 days out. So I started planning in like February for this trip. And so we were able to get like really low prices on the airfare, on the hotel, because we were planning so far in advance. Another strategy is maybe you can't plan 120 days or 90 days in advance, but you may be, on the fly, like, oh, I think I want to go to Aruba next week. And so 7 days or less, you can actually get some really good deals closer to the date, because hotels want to kind of sell those empty rooms, and they'll rather sell it at a discount than not make a sale at all. And so they'll offer much lower prices. And you also see flash sales with airlines as well. Be flexible in the days that you leave. So are you willing to leave one day later or earlier from your travel date? If you're flexible, you can actually save some money that way. There's a really great website called Airfordable where you can put your flight on layaway and you can pay over time. And I would recommend, and instead of going with well-known big company names for excursions, you can actually do local excursions with locals who will show you like a different perspective on the place where you're traveling, and it's actually at a much lower rate. So we cannot have this conversation today without talking about credit cards. So how do you use travel credit cards responsibly? Now, as a certified financial coach, I am very careful in how I recommend the use of credit cards. So if you are currently in debt and credit card debt, this is not an option. This shouldn't be an option for you. You need to pay off your credit card debt, and you need to achieve like debt freedom. Like, I have credit cards, but I don't carry a balance. My credit cards pay me. I don't pay my credit card companies interest on anything. So you have to use credit cards responsibly. And like I said, if this is something where you currently have credit card debt, I just wouldn't recommend that you go ahead and apply for these kinds of cards, because you have to really be diligent in using them responsibly. But if you are someone, who don't really have credit card debt, and you can maximize the benefits of these kinds of cards, then it can be beneficial to you. So my last trip to Mexico, I paid for that whole trip with points and travel statement credits from my credit cards, my travel credit cards. And it was for me and my mom. So I had a whole trip like entirely paid for with credit card points. So what you would do if you were to apply for one of these cards, you want to get a card that's going to give you maximum travel benefits. One of the best cards that I have, I get 2 points for every single dollar I spend on everything. So everything that I pay for, I get 2 points for every dollar. And then those points can then be converted into a travel statement credit, where I'll get a credit on my statement for any charge that's travel related. And so that's a really great benefit for a card. And you want to, get cards that'll give you extra points for travel related things. So eating out at restaurants, paying for flights, paying for car rentals. Take advantage of the sign-on bonuses. So some of these cards have like great sign-on bonuses. If you sign on and you spend $3,000 in 90 days, you'll get, 50,000 points or 70,000 points, which can be good towards like a ton of flights. I know JetBlue, I was on a JetBlue flight like 2 weeks ago. So I remember them saying, get 70,000 points for signing up for our card. And they're like, that's good for, at least 4 round trip flights. And I thought, wow, if I didn't have the card already, I would sign up. And most importantly, pay off the balance in full at the end of every month. What's the point of charging something and then paying 13%, 15% interest on the original cost? And I think if you can't afford to pay off the card completely at the end of the month, then you shouldn't be using the card at all. And I know that there are individuals, other travel experts and, maybe financial experts out there that wouldn't agree with me. But my heart for you is for you to be debt free and enjoy your vacation and enjoy your life without the burden of debt. Okay. And so that's my advice for you when it comes to using travel cards. So finally, we're going to get into limiting belief number 3. So investing for travel requires a background in finance. I'm afraid that if I'll try, I'll lose my money, right? So that is definitely a limiting belief that can keep you from a world of just financial wonder. If you continue to believe this myth, then you're going to continue to keep your money in places where it can't grow because of fear of what might happen. There's a saying that says scared money don't make money, right? But if you are making informed decisions about how to invest your money wisely, then there's no reason why you shouldn't see an increase. If you don't bust this myth, you're going to miss out on what some believe to be the magic of the eighth wonder of the world, and that's compound interest. And compound interest, it works for those who, it can work for you or it can work against you. We were just talking about credit cards, right? If you continue to carry a balance and every single month you are being charged interest on what you owe on top of interest, guess what? That's compound interest working against you. But if you take your money and you invest it in a index fund that tracks the S&P 500, every single day your money is growing and it's compounded, and you are actually experiencing compound interest working in your favor. So what's the solution? Learn and earn at the same time. We live in the information age. There is nothing out there that you can't learn, and there's very few things that are available that you can't access for free. So there's no reason to remain ignorant to the world of investing, unless that's where you want to be, because there's just so much great information out there. There are books that you can read, videos you can watch, podcasts you can listen to, all on investing. I would say, learn from others who also share the same desire to grow their money. Okay. One of the things that I advocate for individuals who are new to investing is to join an investment club. I host an investment club where we invest together and we research and we learn together and grow in our understanding of different types of investments that we can actually take advantage of corporately and individually. Investing platforms that you can start with. There's a app called Worthy Bonds, which is a great app. I just recently found out though that they are temporarily out of bonds, but it's a great company to keep in mind because you can actually buy bonds to invest in small companies where they have the capital to back what they're borrowing, and your money will grow at about 5%, which is about 2% above the average rate of inflation. So that's another thing. You want to invest in vehicles that's going to keep up with or exceed the rate of inflation so that your money's actually growing. You have managed investing with apps like Acorns, and then brokerage accounts where you can open a brokerage account and start investing in the stock market. And there's so many apps now that make it so easy. The two that are most popular are Stash and Robinhood. But you have TD Ameritrade, Fidelity. There's so many brokerage accounts, and people ask, well, which one should I choose? And it just all depends on what you want, what you're looking for in a brokerage account. But don't let that stop you from moving forward. Okay. It's not like you can't move your money from one brokerage account to the other. So I want to share with you an investing strategy. Now, if you're new to investing, some of this might be a little like high tech for you, but it's not hard to understand. It's a strategy of how you can move your money around in order to make money investing quicker. So I'm a long-term investor, and I also do swing trading. So long term, I look up companies that have a really good track record. I look at their stats, and I'll invest and I'll keep my money there. And I already have a plan of how I'm going to collect dividends and live off of the growth of those investments. So that's long term. Those are investments that I hope to pass on to my children's children. And then I have swing trading, right? So I might say, okay, I want to make like an extra $1,000 this month. So I'll follow this particular strategy, and it's where you have 3 stocks that you're working with. So you have a stock that you buy, a stock that you watch, and a stock that you want to sell. So I'll give you an example here. So the stock that I buy is a JetBlue stock. The stock that I'm watching, I bought it and I'm watching it, is Six Flags. And the stock that I'm about to sell is Macy's. Now they were all Macy started in the buy position and it moved to the watch position and now it's at the sell. So when it moved, I was able to, when I bought it at $15.08 per share. 50 shares at that price ran me about $754. I watched it, and then when it got to about $20, I was able to sell it at over $1,000 and make a $252 profit. All right. So now I sold that, and I have now my watch stock, Six Flags, will move into the sell position. The buy stock, which is JetBlue, will move into the watch position. And now I have an extra space now for another stock. And this cycle, it all depends on how things move. But, you know, I'm not day trading. I'm not watching every single day. I will probably, look at this, anywhere between 4 to 6 week cycles. And so with that extra space in my cycle, I buy a new stock, which is Tilray, which is a cannabis stock. JetBlue moves to the watch position. Six Flags moves to the sell position, where when it got to the price of $50 a share, I bought it at 40, and I was able to make a $200 profit. So, like small wins like that, I'm able to use that money towards some travel goals that I have. So I've given you a lot of different strategies to save, to invest your money so that you can travel sooner. Some of these strategies might work really well for you, and others you may not be ready for yet. But I encourage you, if you can, you're watching, come back and look at this recording, take notes. And I want you to challenge yourself to do something different when it comes to your finances and how you plan towards traveling the world. Because travel is that one investment that you make where you spend money and it just continues to pay you back. You have experiences that just grow your mind, grow your heart, and in ways that you couldn't experience any other way. And so it's one of the best investments that you can make for yourself. And yeah. That's it, Beth. So I would like to thank you guys for, of course, listening to all of this good stuff. I can talk about this stuff forever because it's like breathing for me.
Thank you so much, Jonelle. This has been so enlightening and so much good stuff. I know we have a couple of minutes left for questions, and so I just want to pull up a couple of comments that have come up, especially at the end. There's been some really good banter on, oh gosh, the thing is moving, on stocks and profits and how that works. Sarah has a question about how to avoid penalties when selling investments. How long do you hold on to one before you sell? Can you go into that at all?
Yeah, so you do definitely have, to pay like capital gains, which can be higher if you sell them less than 366 days of holding them. So this is not necessarily a strategy. I would say I'm not a big day trader. So you do need to keep that in mind. But if you're looking, I always look at, with the gains of what I can get from that stock. If it makes sense for me to go ahead and, I'll pay the taxes, then it's not that it doesn't, I don't know, it's not that bad a trade-off. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you do definitely need to be careful with that, because with swing trading, whenever you buy any shares of stock and you sell it less than 366 days of holding it, you then end up paying higher taxes than if you were to hold it for that 365-year term.
I know we have another. Oh, go ahead. Were you going to say something, Sarah?
Yeah. I also have long-term holds that are dividend-paying stocks that I'll use, dividends to pay for travel, but that takes a lot longer. And so this particular strategy will give you some gains faster, but you just definitely have to weigh what makes the most sense for you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And Don, on the question of, I know we're going deep into some financial questions, and then I know there's some travel related questions too, so I'm going to balance those out. Don has a question about, are brokerage accounts expensive, and can you decide what to do with the investments, or do they decide? How does that work?
Yeah. So brokerage accounts in general, now, you can, before, when it came to opening, like investing in the stock market, you had to actually go to like a person, a broker who would handle your trades and investments for you. And now you have brokerage accounts like TD Ameritrade, Robinhood, Stash, where a lot of the fees are not, you don't have those fees that you're paying. I think when it comes to the brokerage account that you decide that you want to use, you have to think about what makes the most sense for you. So, for example, if you want to be able to buy fractional shares, then a brokerage platform like TD Ameritrade might not work for you because you can't buy fractional shares on TD Ameritrade, but you can buy fractional shares on Stash, right? Are you looking for a platform that provides you with nice, great educational tools? If you are looking for a platform that provides you with in-depth educational tools and they have a really good platform for that, then Robinhood might not be the best platform for that. But Charles Schwab or Fidelity or TD Ameritrade, they do have a E-Trade. They all have, really good education platforms. So I think a lot of times my clients, they get caught up on that. Oh, I haven't started investing because I don't know what brokerage account to use. But I would say you can always move your money from one account to the next, right? Don't let that stop you from getting started. So no, they aren't expensive, and you just need to know what you're looking for in an account, and you can go to their websites and see what they offer.
It's like analysis paralysis sometimes, right? Where you're like, I don't want to make the wrong move, so I'm just going to not do anything and go for it.
And then you miss out on all that compound interest.
IKEA has a good question too. Any suggestions? I know you'd mentioned finding an investment club. Where can we look for one?
So there's a really great website. It's called Better Investing, and they've been around for like 70 years. And they actually have there are a bunch of investment clubs that get started through Better Investing, but you can also attend as a guest to clubs to kind of learn about what it takes to start a club, or how you can be a part of a club. Jim Cramer, he actually just recently started an investment club. He's, one of the top analysts in CNBC. And so he has an investment club that was free up until probably last week. And now you have to pay to get into it. But he offers some really good stock options advice. And you can start your own club. That's a masterclass that I've done in the past, how to use investment clubs to finance your goals, and, the process of how you can start a club. But it's a really good investment of time and money, because I would say we're limited by our own knowledge. And so when you are now surrounded, or you get in connection with, 4, 5, 10 other people who are thinking about growing their money, but you have different ideas and different approaches, it expands your thinking, and it also grows your bank account.
By the way, while we were talking, I have to give a shout out, because Laura just put this in the comments. She just opened a brokerage account during this call. So yeah, I think we have to do like a little awesome job, Laura. That's so exciting.
Congratulations, Laura. Wow. High five. Virtual high five.
Virtual high five. Rachel wants to know, let's switch into travel a little bit. Rachel wants to know, what's your travel budget? Say if you're kind of trying to think annually, you've got 6 to 8 trips, like what would your recommendation be for how somebody goes about and figures out what that budget is for themselves?
See, so I think that's a personal question, right? And it all depends on where you want to go. So if you have 6 trips that you want to take and it's domestic travel, that's very different than if you have 3 international trips and 3 domestic trips. And it also depends on your preference. What kind of lodging do you like? Are you okay with staying in hostels, or do you want to stay in Airbnbs? Are you a 3-star 4-star or 5-star kind of girl. Like it all depends on your preference. Yeah, so I think you need to, I would say, think about where you want to go, and you look at your budget, right? Look at your budget and see where can you make that space in your budget. If you were going to generate more income, how much can you generate without, like, working yourself to death, or it become overwhelming? And if you can make space, extra $3,000 a year, you could possibly finance 3-4 trips depending on where you're going, right? What you're doing.
Yeah. I had a good friend once that I will fully call out. Her name's Jessica, and she has an Instagram account called Fro on the Go, and she's awesome. And I used to work with her, and she would always travel. We worked in the nonprofit world, and we didn't make a lot of money. And she was like literally always in like Mongolia or in like Turkey and I remember I said to her once, I was like, how are you affording all of these trips that you're going on? Like, what is going on? And she said, you know what, Beth? I think about how long I want to travel for. And then I count how many days is that in groceries to pay that would like pay for that. And she's like, which I don't think is the best recommendation, but she was like, then I will pay ramen. I will eat ramen every day until I like make up that much in my grocery savings. And then I'll
Wow. Okay, so ramen may not be the healthiest option, and as a generational wealth strategist, I always say your health is your greatest wealth.
Very important. Yes.
So I wouldn't necessarily recommend eating ramen, but what we can learn from your friend is that she made it a priority.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So because she made it a priority, then there were other things that just were not as important for her. It was like, I don't need to eat healthy food every day. I'm going to Mongolia.
Exactly.
So if it becomes a priority for you, then you start to see all these other things. Is it important? Like I said, is it important to have a Netflix subscription?
Right.
You could be reading a book about the next place where you're going. I don't know.
Yeah. Or a lot of people like have Netflix, but then they still have cable. And it's like, you don't need both anymore.
No.
Michelle has a great question. While we talk about saving money each month for travel, how much percentage do you advise putting into retirement savings each month in addition to that? You have a recommendation?
Yeah. So I say for women, we should at the very minimum be saving 12% of our income. And 12%, it seems like an odd number, but women are, they live 20% longer than men. And so that extra 2% accounts for that, our longevity. So when it comes to your retirement, I think at the very minimum, and I say minimum 12%. And I think you should definitely look to, I save about 20% of my income. And 10 of that goes into my Roth IRA retirements. And then I use the other 10 for active investing into dividend stocks and real estate and those other things.
Love it. That's great. Well, and I know we're getting close to time. And so I want to ask you one more question, Jonelle, to drop like at the end here, which is just, I think so many people are getting ideas right now of like where they should go first. Laura's gone ahead and already opened her brokerage account. If you could say, if you could recommend that everybody get off this call and do one thing to put themselves in a better position to save up for travel, to help with their finances, what's like that one thing that you would say, do this thing now?
I said, write it down. Write it down. You get it out of your head and put it where you can see it. So whether that's in a spreadsheet, on a table, or if it's a mind map on paper, take what's in your head and write it down. That's where you move something from being a dream to now making it a vision and a plan. And that's step one. And then watch this video again and then follow all the stuff about
get all the other steps. I love it. And you can, because you all can watch this recording anytime that you want. Jonelle, thank you so much for joining. It's been a real pleasure having you. I can't wait to hear about all the successes that everyone has. And it's so great to get all of your wisdom today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I love all of your questions. Laura, I am so happy for you. I'm excited to yeah, you're on the right track. This is so exciting. So thank you so very much.
Yeah. And everyone, just a quick heads up too, to give you some very last couple things of housekeeping as you head out. We do have another event coming up next week. So if you're looking for another live event, we're actually doing a live virtual trip to New Orleans. It's going to be so fun. You're going to get an email about it in your inbox in like the next 10 minutes. So check it out. And in that email, you'll also have information on how to reach out to Jonelle, all of her amazing resources that she's mentioned here, and a link to this recording. So check it out. Check your email. Thanks so much for coming. I hope we see you next week. And bye for now, everyone. Have a great weekend.